So I do wonder, so wearing your political hat, you spent 7 years in the Bush White House. When you look at the results of the election and you think ahead to 2016, which of course everyone does like the day after election day, maybe there's some lessons about people kind of moving into the middle and trying to kind of be broader rather than feeling like you have to flank to your base.
Well, I've been out of Washington for 4 years, but I haven't lost my cynicism. So I wish I could say that that dynamic will cause that effect, but I don't believe that. I think that, unfortunately, if you're a Republican that is disappointed about the presidential election, you're going to either cling to a couple different, depending on if you think there needs to be fundamental change or not. There's no way you can analyze the data, the demographics, the data, the exit polling data, the demographics, and the electoral college advantage that Democrats now enjoy, but they've now enjoyed for even George W. Bush when he won re-election, got 286 electoral votes, 270 being what you need to win. We haven't eclipsed 300 electoral votes in over 20 years. In the 70s and 80s, that was a Republican advantage, but when big states like New York and California and Pennsylvania now become, very reliable Democratic states, there has to be a more demonstrative shift, I think, in the party to do that. It's not just saying, who's the candidate, we just missed on the candidate, we'll get them next time. I think there has to be a much more fundamental conversation within the Republican Party about how are we talking to growing demographics, growing communities in our society, whether it be Hispanic, whether it be the young. Gender politics and the other ways that you can slice the electorate are interesting. I do, though, think that it is, it's undeniable to say that in large part it's a party made up of white males, and it's it's not a growing bloc, particularly of influence in American politics.
Well, and the demographics are working against.
We need to take a fresh look at how we actually articulate and explain how conservative principles can help people in their daily lives. I think there's been a disconnect in what we've been talking about, positions that feel more and more distant from these growing communities who are looking at us like, we're animal exhibits at a zoo, much less, a party that they could vote for.
Right. I think part of it feels like you need broader issues.
Like I said, I put myself more on the side of the spectrum of reformist. However, there are some tweaks that could have made a substantial difference in this election, and you could argue that it may have been the difference in the outcome, and particularly in politics, as in anything really in life when you talk about communications or whatnot. But in the political sense, is the phase of the campaign between when the primaries are over and the start of the political convention is what I call the definitional phase of the campaign. And you go back in history and look at whoever wins the definitional phase of the campaign, who really sets the terms of the debate, usually wins the election in the fall. And what was frustrating for me and others to see was that the Romney campaign allowed President Obama to define the terms of the debate, first define him, the attacks on his background with Bain, his business career, and not responding aggressively to those charges, as well as framing the debate around the 1%, framing the debate, because elections, it's a constant tension between voting with your head or voting with your heart. And Mitt Romney wanted you to vote with your head. He wanted you to just do the empirical case against Barack Obama and say, there's no way this guy should get another 4 years. What Obama's team understood was that people more often, particularly for president, vote with their heart. And so he made more of a it's funny, is you usually hear Republicans making a values-based argument. But now different types of values, but what Obama was successful at doing early on in this is framing this of whose side is on yours and making it more of a value-laden campaign. And he's very successful, and I think we were, now he almost erased all those gains in his first debate performance. But not enough to where they spent millions and millions of dollars laying the predicate in the narrative of this election, and it held up all the way through election day.
Well, and he bounced back in the other debates. That was a pretty ugly performance, but he obviously survived. So, thanks so much.
Absolutely.